have found the Genesis frequency. This is Dr. Stephen J. Kazmina welcoming you in to another episode of a show that focuses on your whole life prosperity and success. Whole life prosperity and success by cooperating with the universal laws that are available to each and every one of us. This is Quantum Leap Goal Achievement, radical personal transformation, whole life prosperity and success. Now, stay tuned for another exciting episode that'll move the needle in your life from where you are now to where you want to be. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it may be, wherever you are in the world. When you hit that play button, so glad you did. Of course, you have found the Genesis Frequency podcast in our fifth year. This is Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kazmina, welcoming all of you in. And I say all of you because this is all about, like my intro says, whole life prosperity, moving from where we are to where we want to be, whether it's for you as an individual and you're working on a personal goal or objective in your personal life, whether it's you in a small business situation, maybe you're an entrepreneur and you're growing your business, or you have some very specific goals, big dream goals. That's what we work on here for your business, or for the corporate environment, for the executive team, for the boardroom, for consumer facing individuals, from everybody from maintenance to management and everything in between. It's because we're wired the same way. There's some basic elements that we're wired the same way. We have varying degrees of personalities and egos that are more dominant than others, of course, but we're wired in a certain way, and we are creatures of habit. I think you'll agree with me on that one. And there are also universal laws that we can cooperate with when we're aware of them. And we can make that quantum leap when we're aware of these laws. And they just are. They're just universal laws, like gravity, like the law of rhythm. The tide moves in, the tide moves out. We inhale and exhale, the law of order and the law of rhythm, and so many of these natural universal laws, or divine laws even. I really firmly believe we have to inject that level of spirituality into everything that we're doing. And I want you to consider, we're going to touch base on some of those things that we have to let go of, because I rattled off like 25 towards the end of last week's podcast. And I invited you to see energetically if any of these things were coming up for you, or if you noticed something in your state, your emotional state, as I read through them. So we're going to do that again today. But we're going to look at, well, how, it's one thing to say, yeah, I identified this, I felt something, but I got to let go of it. How do we let go of that? And we'll talk about that today. But what I invite you to do first, when I talk about how we're wired and there's these universal laws, and we have to work in harmony with them and all of that, I want you to consider all of that from this perspective. You know what you know, right? You have a certain level of knowledge, whatever that may be. You know what you know, right? We all know what we know. And then there's an area of, we we know, to a certain extent, we know what we don't know, right? We know what we don't know. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't know how. I wouldn't know what to do to go in the backyard and build a helicopter or an airplane. I know you can get kits and follow directions, but I don't know. I know I don't know the laws, all the laws of aerodynamics, for instance, or nuclear fusion, or whatever it is. So there's that area of that body of knowledge that we don't know it. And we admit we don't know it. We know we don't know it. And we could go there if we wanted to know it, if we wanted to obtain that knowledge. Then there's this whole vast area that's included in this. We don't know what we don't know. We don't know what it is that we don't know. And in that area lies tremendous possibilities, tremendous potential. And, I often point back to Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich. And one of the ways that we can tap into just a tiny sliver of that area is to enter the silence, to cooperate with the power of our subconscious mind, which is where we access infinite intelligence, call it what you will, and seek answers when there seem to be none as we move from where we are to where we want to be. See, we don't have to know how. You hear that on this show almost every time I turn on this microphone. You don't have to know how, and the how's none of your business. You have to know what it is. You have to set the big dream goal, the thing that excites you and scares you at the same time, whether it's for you personally or in your small business or in your corporate environment. You have to know where you want to go. You have to define it. You have to build it out. You have to cooperate with the law of specificity, saying this is it in detail. You have to lose your attachment to a certain extent to the outcome and be in a state of, this or something better, but you don't have to know how. Each next step will be revealed. When we move into the emotional state of it being real, buying into all we have created as a reality because we have designed it on the canvas of our mind using the power of our imagination. When we live there, when we feel from there, all sorts of things move whatever is necessary into our field of experience. And we apprehend that and we take action and we see a reaction. But let's get back to the letting go part that we started on. We're going to talk a lot about all of that in the process and these laws and all the laws that precede the law of attraction and all that as we move forward. But I want to kind of wrap up a little bit where we were last week. And I was inviting you to just release and let go of things that come up that take up what I was calling bandwidth, right? Another way we can look at bandwidth. If you ever, do you ever go to one of those? Boy, but they make everything. A couple different restaurant chains are coming to mind, but it's a buffet, and it's a buffet all the time. That's what they do. And I don't frequent those places, but just imagine, and maybe you don't either, but just imagine you go and there's this buffet of every kind of food you could possibly want, right? So, you're like a little kid in a candy store. You grab one of those plates, and yeah, you can go back, but you're so excited. You're going through. If you're just giving yourself the freedom to have whatever you want. Let's not talk about diets right now. You start at one end, and you're putting oh, this looks good, and you put that on your plate. This looks good. Put that on your plate, and you're maybe halfway through the offerings there, and your plate's full, maybe even overflowing. And then you're walking through the other half to see what's available to you, and you go, oh my God, that looks good too. I don't have any more room on my plate for that. Yeah, I can come back, but chances are, if you're going to eat everything on that plate, you're not going to have room for what's next. That's just a real simple way to talk about and explain what I mean when I'm saying about bandwidth when it comes to consciousness and when it comes to what we're aware of and what we allow to take up space. So that's really what this is about when I talk about letting go. What are you allowing to take up space? And this is why it's so important to address this. Because if you're listening to this show, you do in fact want to move from where you are to where you want to be, whatever that is, whatever that big dream goal is. You have some level of longing and discontent for something more in your life. And that's good. I don't think we should just be complacent and, and settle and be happy. That's not, this show isn't for you if you're just comfortable with settling, because you can have it all. You really can. Nothing is impossible for you. So we want to free up this bandwidth's taking up space. So I invited you, and I'll go down the list again, and you can, and then maybe this is your first time here, because I want to thank Wisdom Board and some other people that are sharing more of these podcasts. So thank you, Adam Smith, and your team for working on this. Just a little shout out there, appreciation. Let's look at releasing, let go. I'm going to go down this list and just notice what comes up for you. Letting go of. Do I need to let go of? And I'll run through this. And it's about 20 plus things. And notice, oh yeah, that's my hot button. I got some work to do there. Just notice it. Don't criticize yourself. Don't beat yourself up. We did this in the last episode, but then we're going to move into some solutions real quick here. We'll have time for that. So I need to let go of. Do you need to let go of? Anger, anxiety, apathy, bitterness, blame. That's a big one, right? Busyness, chaos. Is there chaos in your life? Order's so important. Competitiveness, complaining. Ooh, that's a biggie. Criticism. Do I need to let go of darkness, discontent, discouragement, doubt, drama, fear? What kind of fear? Fear of being alone is a big one for people. I work with individuals. Do I need to let go of fear of change, fear of illness, fear of lack, fear of not enough? Do I need to let go of indecision, insecurity, judgment? I always judging. Do I need to let go of judgment? Is these things, are they taking up bandwidth? How about, do we need to let go of limitation? There's no way I could do that. Do we need to let go of that? Do we need to let go of just negative thinking in general? Your thoughts always sliding to the negative. We need to let go of obligations. Sometimes we need to review those, right? Obligations. Do we need to let go of some outdated beliefs? When's the last time you sat down with your beliefs and went through them? Why do I believe? Why do you believe what you believe? Where did that come from? Was that something that someone else told you to believe in because they believed in it? You said, "Oh, yeah, well, okay." You know, outdated beliefs. Examine those. Do you need to let go of overwhelm? Do you need to let go of the past? Some people live there. People move in and camp there and put down stakes in the past. And that can lead to a state of depression, I'm telling you. Do you need to let go of perfectionism or pessimism? Do you need to let go of resentment, resistance, self pity, shame? Another big one. You need to let go of any of this or all of this. Again, just observing how your emotional state may be changing as you hear these things and self-identify with some of those. Yeah, I got some work to do there. Do I need to let go of sorrow? You need to let go of stress. Another biggie. Do you need to let go with struggle? Does it feel and seem like you're always struggling? You get close, you're almost there. You take a step forward and then two steps back. I need to let go of struggle. I need to let go of worry. So, all of these things, and there's probably a few more out there that I didn't touch on. It's just examining, what do I need to let go of? Because this list that I ran through, these examples, because you identified that I have to admit they're taking only you can answer this. They're taking up bandwidth. They're taking up space. I'm letting them rent space in consciousness, and none of these things are serving me as a propellant. This word just came into my mind. From where I am to where I want to be. They're not serving me. So what I wanted to talk about today is it's one thing to say, yeah, I need to let go of all that. But since going back to what I said at the beginning of the show, that we're all creatures of habit, and it doesn't matter if you're in a corporate environment working on your small business or just what you want as an individual, you're governed by habit. You're governed by your programming. We call those paradigms. Paradigms are a multitude of habits that have almost exclusive control over your habitual behavior, and just about all of your behavior is habitual. And this plays a part in it. Do you habitually blame? Do you habitually complain? Do you habitually live in the past? Do you habitually live in fear of lack? Do you habitually participate in negatively thinking? So they're habits, and habits, as we know, don't die easy. But what we have to do is we have to set the intention. Yes, I'm going to let go of this. I'm going to make a conscious effort and set the intention to work on this. I am going to transform my life by renewing my mind, by looking at what I'm holding in consciousness and what I'm allowing, and you're allowing it, I'm allowing to take up space and use up valuable bandwidth. So, what do we do? What do we move in? Well, we have to catch ourselves. First, we have to identify that one of these things really is a problem because it's living rent free in our mind, right? So, we have to identify it. And when we identify it and we realize this is taking up space and I don't want it to, well, who are we going to rent to? Who are we going to lease that space out to? We have to move something in. If we just leave it alone, ego probably will support it and continue to support it because it gets a little satisfaction doing it. So we have to move something in that is supportive of the life we would love to live. So that's sometimes very often easier said than done. But it's going to come from the design that you have created for your life or for your small business or for your company. It's going to come from that. So you want to move in some affirmative statements. But I would suggest before you get to that, that you start to free up that space by moving into a regular practice of thanksgiving and appreciation. This is so powerful. You'll find it in every success course. You'll find it in all the wisdom of the ages, how powerful gratitude is. And this is one way. Sometimes we can't make the jump because this is really all about emotional state. We want to get out of these things that anchor us down, that are taking up bandwidth. We want to move out of perhaps them being cause for a negative emotional state that we don't want because it's not supportive of where we want to be. So sometimes we can't move from, say, that negative thinking all the way to I am so positive and I now live this life of luxury or whatever it is, right? So we have to first move somewhere, and gratitude is that somewhere that we can move to that moves us into more of a neutral and moves the needle from, if you can just picture a needle on a meter, this negative emotional state or all these things that we need to let go of, and then that moving that needle to the middle and gradually to the other side, it's going to start with Thanksgiving. It really shifts that emotional state because how can we possibly want more if we don't appreciate what we already have, right? So we start to develop a regular practice of Thanksgiving. And I suggest you really get a fresh notebook and you start a list, and at least every day you list 10 things that you're grateful for, but really feel into the appreciation for these things that you're putting on your life, putting on your list. I take it for granted. And I'm now focusing on building this list every day, 10 things. And I'd like to do 100. You can do 50. You just pick a number you're comfortable with, whatever you have time for, and just start making your list, but feel into it. Don't just make it, a list just to do a list. Feel into it. Feeling is the secret in everything we do. So that's going to move you out of that state of the habit. You want to let go. So you set the intention, yeah, I'm going to let go of this thing. This is coming up. You went through that list, and I notice I do that all the time, and bandwidth makes perfect sense. So we want to move that out. So let's move to Thanksgiving. Let's start with a list. Let's be grateful for the good in our lives and appreciate that. Let's know that this is exciting too. That'll help elevate the emotional state because we know that there's something out there that we don't know. And in that space of knowing there's something that we don't know, we open up infinite potential and infinite possibilities, and we can go to infinite intelligence. And when we're not taking up this bandwidth, we make room to enter into the silence and spend some time there, like all the greats did, like the Edisons and the Fords and the Rockefellers, and just sit in that place of peace and tranquility and allow answers and the how to move in. This will help to free up that bandwidth. So this is something you really want to dive into. Maybe you need to listen to it again. Maybe you got to make some notes of what came up for you as I was going through that list, and just acknowledge it. Just observe it. Don't criticize yourself, but set the intention. I have to let go of those things that are taking up that space, and decide. Make a commitment to letting go and freeing that up. Move into a practice of thanksgiving. Notice what you're noticing. And in that space, we're going to start talking about how do we take this vision, this image of what we want to move in. And again, whether it's corporate culture or corporate objectives, corporate goals, or whether it's for your small business or as an individual, we'll start framing those in a certain way so we can move them into this space where what we let go of used to live, and start to live from the emotional state of the desired dream, wish, objective, aspiration, whatever you want to call it, fulfilled. And you're going to start seeing quantum leaps in every area of your life. So hang in there with me. That's all the time we got for today. And I appreciate you listening. Hey, we're going to wrap it up. If you want to talk more about any of this, reach out. Successappointment.com gets you on my calendar. No sales page, it's just successappointment.com. It's my calendar. It'll show up in your time zone. You pick a time, we get on a call, we identify some things that are keeping you stuck, and I set you on a plan. It's just something I do for my listeners. More about what I do, successocean.com. And still got some spots if you're interested in the wonderful world of being an entrepreneur and the laptop and cell phone lifestyle, working anywhere in the world. Go find more about that. I just posted a new video at successocean.biz. So you might want to check that out. Stephen, Stephen, at successocean.com is the email. And so there you have it. The show has a website too, the genesisfrequency.com. So no excuses. Reach out. Let's have a conversation. For now, this is Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kosmina, wishing you an infinitely spectacular day. God bless you.